just go right to how volunteering has changed with COVID since last March when lockdowns and spread of disease and everything started to impact all of our communities. Please describe how our volunteers have adapted to continue to assist individuals in nursing homes and their families.
Absolutely. Prior to COVID, the Ombudsman associates would go into a facility to which they're assigned, and they would talk to residents. They would talk to as many or as few as they wanted to when they went in there. They would observe, checking to see call lights. If the call lights are on in the hallways, you can see it above the doors, and how long approximately it's taking for the call lights to be answered. They talk to the residents to see about their care. They talk to them to see if they're doing activities that they are enjoying. They ask them about the food. They ask them about the staffing. That was prior to COVID. Now, since COVID, when an ombudsman associate is assigned to a facility still, or several now, they are calling. They're calling the residents themselves and still asking about their care. They are calling their family members and asking if they're getting updates about their loved ones who are receiving the long-term care. They are able to visit the facilities on the outside and monitor the window visits. And they are able to partake or participate in Zoom advocacy visits. Whenever an ombudsman associate would go into facility, we call it an advocacy visit because we're always able to advocate on a resident's behalf whenever we're in there. And so we call them advocacy visits. So now the advocacy visits are kind of virtual or they're done over the telephone.
I see. That's good to know. We have a caller that has asked that first they say they're grateful for the program, which we appreciate. We thank you very much. And they're looking for a place to volunteer to help people. Is there a training program to match their interest to the need? So I think that's taking us a little bit closer to the kind of things that we actually talk with people when they call and they're interested in volunteering. So I'll let you go ahead and answer that caller's inquiry.
Sure. Yes, there is a training program. It consists of 14 hours of training with me. And prior to COVID, we did it in person in our offices or in libraries. I've trained people at McDonald's, wherever the need was and wherever they were the most comfortable being trained is where we did it. Now I do virtual training. We do it via Zoom or Skype or FaceTime. I'm pretty flexible with the training. So, however, it's the most comfortable for them. And the 14 hours can be divvied up pretty much any time. We can do it an hour or two a day. We can do 1 or 2 days all day long. However, it's best suited to their scheduling. The training consists of taking a manual from the state office, and we go through the different aspects of ombudsman advocacy. I talk to them about the overall ombudsman program that Chip did such a great job illustrating at the beginning of the program. We talk about all of the beginnings of 1965 when it was enacted. We talk about the partnerships that we have with the Department of Health. We talk about the Area Agency on Aging and the Ohio the Department of Aging, and all of the partnerships that we have that go along with the Ombudsman program. We train them what to look for when they go into a facility, or as of now, what they ask about when they call a resident or a loved one of the resident. And at the end of the 14 hours, they will watch a couple of videos of an actual advocacy visit in a nursing home, following a real ombudsman doing an advocacy visit and starting a case from the very beginning of the case until the end of the case when it's resolved. And prior to COVID, I would take the residents, the ombudsman associates, into the facility to which they were assigned, introduce them to the staff. We would tour the facility, get them acquainted with the facility, and talk to some residents. And then I would actually do an advocacy visit, and they would observe me doing that. Now they watch the videos, they answer a questionnaire about the videos, and then we discuss that. And after the vaccines have all been given and everybody is safe to go back into the facilities, I will be taking groups of people back into facilities. I'm not just going to throw them to the wolves. Whenever we do start going in, whoever has been trained during this COVID time will actually be able to go into a facility with me and have and observe an advocacy visit in person before they're just let loose into a facility. And it can also be a refresher course for anyone that's already an ombudsman associate if they would like some to go back in and just to renew their skills. We do have a requirement of 6 continuing education units a year. And right now I am hosting a Zoom webinar once a month so they can tune in with me and watch a topic for an hour, hour and a half, and receive 1 to 1.5 credits for that. They need 6 a year. I send them links for webinars that they can watch in their own time whenever they want to. If they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and cannot go back to sleep, they can watch a webinar to get credit and send me the information. After an ombudsman has completed their training, they will receive a badge. They will be officially ombudsman associates. We highly regard our associates to the point that we don't even call them volunteers. They are truly associates in what we do. The staff relies on the volunteer associates to help with casework. They ask them to make calls to check on certain individuals who have called us. So we love the ombudsman associates who work with us. And we feel like, and we know they are all part of this team. And we treat them as part of the team. They are able to ask the questions that we ask as a staff member. And as you saw, with 19,000 individuals in nursing home care or assisted living care or group home care right now, there is no way that we can get to them all. And even with having a large number of volunteer associates, it's hard to reach all of these people. So the more people that we can get involved in this, the better it will be. Right now is a truly a time when we need associates to help us out. When during this pandemic time, when the facilities are closed to even loved ones going in and checking out what's going on with their loved one in the facility. I myself have a mother who is in a long-term care facility, and I've had to call the ombudsman in that facility to have him check on her for me because I'm not able to go in myself as her daughter. So it's the ombudsman program is a wonderful program to be involved in. And now is a time more than ever that we need people to volunteer to join our program to check on loved ones in nursing homes.
Yes, there's a lot of checking up to do that has been has had to go by the wayside because of the restrictions on actually visiting. So now is a time when we actually do need as many people that as express interest. What are some of the rewards that the volunteers report to you, Bev? What are some of the things that they say mean the most to them in doing this kind of volunteer work?
You know, Diane, thank you for asking that because that's such an important part of the ombudsman program. The one of the major rewards I hear all the time from our associates is the satisfaction of being able to help someone. And you know as well as I do that when we help someone, it truly helps us. It makes us feel better to be able to be a part of something bigger than just us. So I hear that all the time, that every time they call, they make a difference in somebody's life, even if it's from the fact that their coffee is cold every morning. I'm a coffee drinker, so that's an important thing for me. And if you're in a nursing home and you're not going out anywhere, your loved ones are no longer able to visit you, warm coffee in the morning is important, I can tell you. And so getting that resolved so that they can have hot coffee every single morning, or that they can get up when they want to and not having to get up at 5 o'clock if they don't want to, knowing that they can go to bed when they want to and not going to bed at 7 because somebody else thinks that's a good idea. So being an advocate for those in long-term care right now is such a rewarding thing because we make a difference. Every call that we make, even if it's being giving somebody and just being an ear for somebody to talk to. Right now, as you know, everywhere, everybody is saying, I am so tired of being locked in and shut down and not being able to see my loved ones. I don't talk to anybody. I'm not going anywhere. I don't see anybody. I just talked to my aunt, my favorite aunt, earlier today. And it just makes me sad because she lives in an apartment complex and she never sees anybody for weeks on end right now because of COVID. So having somebody to call and check on them and ask them, is there anything that you need? Is there anything that we can help you with? And just being an ear for them to be able to voice the fact that they're lonely, that if they do have a problem, that they know that there is somebody that they can tell that will do something about it. And so that's a huge part of what the Ombudsman Associates do for us. When they call these residents, sometimes it's nothing more than just being an ear, a willing ear. I know when I'm training people, I tell them, I said, you know, there are times when you will call and they will give you a litany of things that they're not happy with right now. And so when you get to the end of the call and you ask, so what would you like for me as an ombudsman to do for you? So many times we're told nothing. I just wanted to tell somebody. And I understand that. I'm married, I have a husband, and there are times when I just want to tell him things. I don't want him to try to fix it. He doesn't need to give me an answer on anything. I just want to talk about it to somebody. And right now in nursing homes, a lot of people have nobody to talk to. And even when the times were good before COVID, when people were actually able to visit nursing homes, it's estimated that between 60 to 80% of residents in nursing homes never have a visitor. So if you think of 19,000 individuals, 60 to 80% of whom never have anyone to go in and talk to them or call them on the telephone and ask how they're doing, if there is anything that they need, that's why the Ombudsman program is so needed. And that's why volunteers are so needed for our program. 6 ombudsmen handling 19,000 residents. We need Ombudsman Associates to join us in that and make it known what we do and who we are. And so that when people do have a problem or they want to find a nursing home for themselves or a loved one, we can help steer them to the right one. There's so many things to think about, even in that choice. Whether it is what area do you want? Are you a smoker? There are only a few nursing homes in the state of Ohio that allow smoking in the facility. And if you're not aware of that, you might go to a nursing home, and if you've been smoking for 60 years, chances are pretty good you're not going to stop when you go into the nursing home. So we can help find those niche places for people who need special things or they want in a special area. And then we need the volunteers, though, to call us and join with us to talk to these people and find out what it is that we can do for them.
I think it's It's important to say that we humans are not meant to be living in isolation. And I think that's been one of the hardest things about this COVID is that in order to keep people safe from, illness and possible death, the remedy for that is to be isolated from everyone, and that is extremely difficult. So the use of volunteers and calls to talk to people does make an enormous difference. Also, the world of long-term care services is not one that the majority of people in our communities are really familiar with. For many people, the need to examine what kind of long term care services are required may come upon a family suddenly because of an unexpected accident or illness or something. And then all of a sudden, the family is and the individual are faced with, well, what do we do now? That's a huge learning curve. So both of you have kind of touched on um, how we can help in that area, but maybe you'd like to add a little bit more right now when you think of a family and an individual that's right on the brink and being told at the hospital, you can't go home right now.
It's an incredible, stressful experience, and most of us aren't prepared for it when it occurs. We don't have the background knowledge on Medicare and Medicaid, and if someone goes to a nursing home, who's going to pay for it? How long will Medicare cover the stay? And when that runs out, how do I cover the cost? It is a great way to say that, Diane. Well, it's a steep learning curve. It is. And part of what we do as ombudsman is we are a tool that uh, facilities don't always uh, let people know that we're out there like we would hope. And this program and other programs that we've done really are our way of letting folks know we're here. We have all the Facebook tools and things, but we are here to help individuals to overcome that learning curve because it is daunting to say the least. And we can help explain the financial issues, the care issues, and what will it take to help get someone out of a nursing home and back into the community. I mean, that is in and of itself not a process that we as citizens know a lot about. And, there are courses taught in college, multiple courses in schools across the country. So it really is a daunting task. And we just want folks in Montgomery County and the surrounding to know they're not in this alone. We are here to help be a guide when it comes to finding the right facility and what are your rights and expectations when you're in the nursing homes, which I think
Right.
is important.
Very important. Another caller has asked us to talk about issues around security and background checks and liability insurance and the like. Bev mentioned earlier that the volunteers do in fact earn a badge at the conclusion of the training and successful passing of all of that, and that badge is one of the entry points. Of course, nursing homes just cannot let anyone walk in and visit for the protection of the residents. So it is important to have those checks and balances. And maybe Bev, you'd like to say a little bit more about that for us.
Certainly, Diane. We do not do background checks. I do check references, but we, as, as far as the volunteers go, when they call in, they fill out an application, and I do my due diligence as far as calling their references to find out about them. And then again, the next thing I do is to check to see if they have a conflict of interest. We don't want anyone who is working currently in a facility or any kind of home health care is not eligible to be um, a volunteer at this time. Now, if they're no longer, if they previously worked in one and they are no longer, that's fine. But if they are currently working in any kind of long-term care facility, they are not eligible because of the conflict of interest. And that's just because an individual, when they would have to choose sometimes, maybe between their duties and their demands of being an ombudsman and then their own private interests. So that can open up a whole can of worms as far as fraud or the things like that. So that's why we try to stay so clear of conflict of interest that we just don't hire anyone that is currently involved in long-term care. At that point, then we schedule training, we go through our training sessions, and then they are ombudsman associates certified
And
by
the
the
only,
state office.
I would add on top of that, though, we don't do FBI background checks on volunteers. There are databases that we can evaluate individuals to make sure that they don't have any history of physical abuse that may have come in another setting and they were charged and convicted of that. But in terms of doing the background check that we may do for other members of the ombudsman team, do not do that with the volunteer, but we carefully evaluate with the free tools on the internet that are out there that allow us to check to make sure that the residents aren't going to be put in any danger. And I think that, I mean, having had loved ones in nursing homes myself, I would hope that any agency that is allowing folks in on their behalf would do that and make sure that these are individuals that are in the right field for their service, that they want to give back to the community. And so I just wanted to add that because that is part of the process that we do.
And also, are there particular backgrounds of individuals professionally that you are particularly looking for? I mean, do you want retired firefighters? Do you want, is there a particular professional group of people that you're looking for to try to recruit?
They're the only group that we would be trying to recruit would be people who are interested in helping people. And that's my background is varied, and I just love helping people. I love working with people. I love helping people. And so there are so many people in this world that would make wonderful ombudsmen. And what makes an ombudsman a really good ombudsman is somebody who cares. And that's the bottom line. If they are willing to ask questions and talk to people, and then after they've talked to people, then they need to submit a report to me about what they found when they talk to them. but they come, people, the volunteers that we have now come from every walk of life. We do have a lot of retired nurses. We have engineers, we have teachers, we have people who work in their own businesses or work for other companies. So it's varied. It's just the common denominator is that they care about other people. And the elderly right now and people receiving long-term care benefits, not just the elderly, but people receiving long-term care benefits truly need somebody to advocate for them, because as Chip was saying earlier, it is such a broad range of things that topics that are needed for them. And we need people with varied backgrounds. So it's just like everything else, and it seems like that, I don't know if it's fate or kismet, whatever you want to call it, but there a lot of times the background that the volunteer has fits exactly with the facility that they're in and the people that they're talking to. So that is who we're looking for, people who care about what's happening to people, especially receiving long-term care in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, that are able to talk to people about those problems, talk and just listen to them. So being a good listener is a great ombudsman um, tradition. So anybody and everybody from any walk of life could make a really good ombudsman.
All
I would
right.
like to say that since this is a call-in program, if you would call in 937-223-5311, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Well, we actually do have a rather interesting question. Um, a last question calls to ask that um, how is our ombudsman office unique in that there are so many, or that we have come to utilize so many volunteers. I think that this particular caller comes with the question after having spent some time living overseas, where they may not, I don't really know, but they may not have utilized volunteers in the way that we do. It's fairly, you mentioned earlier that it is fairly common across all 50 states to use volunteers at some capacity or another. But what was this a part of the initial program design, or did it arise over time?
I think that it was a built-in concept that there would be volunteers because, like any other uh, governmental entity, the resources are limited. And part of the business model, if you would, for the program is that volunteers have always been uh, a part of the picture, the scope of what the office will look like. Say that as the number of residents has increased in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, the call for volunteers has increased as well. And right now, to really cover our 9 counties in a way that makes a meaningful difference, we have to have volunteers. And that has always been part of what ombudsman work in Ohio has been about. Now, overseas, I know that ombudsmen in other country are very well known. There's many offices with hundreds of volunteers working in programs. I mean, it is a different uh, type of office structure in other countries compared to the United States. But here in the United States, we have always wanted volunteers in our program because they are the ones that serve as, if not a daily presence, a weekly presence, or even a monthly presence, where they build relationships with the residents and they create this rapport so that the residents feel safe to go up and talk to them about complaints they may have or issues that they'd be scared on any other or in any other circumstance they wouldn't raise the issue, but because they know the volunteers, it's a familiar face, they're able to bring that concern to the ombudsman volunteer or associate. And it is so important that we have enough volunteers to make that difference. And for us, one volunteer makes a difference, but for a program and to cover our county in a way that really gives residents the protection, the voice, because many can't advocate for themselves. The volunteers serve a huge role. And I'll just add in caring for people, as Bev was saying, we had a volunteer back in September that they were making calls. They learned from a family member that a resident was losing weight. They then got really concerned, contacted the resident, contacted the family and the resident at the same time. They were able to determine through this that it was close to 30 pounds the resident had lost.
That's dangerous.
It is. And we learned that the resident who required assistance eating, that they were not getting the assistance for every meal. Some meals it was rushed. And because of that knowledge and intervention by the volunteer, they let the staff ombudsman know about it. And we were able to go in and from a Zoom position, work with the facility then to make certain that this resident was receiving the nourishment every day and that people were actually sitting down and taking the time to help them with their daily meals. And that was a ombudsman volunteer that really cared and was doing the work that they were trained to do. And the look on their face and the way that they carried themselves after making that kind of difference in that person's life, who hadn't got all the things back yet, but maybe Christmas holiday eating will help that. It was just a great experience.
That's a wonderful outcome. Now, Bev, are there particular counties where we are in need of volunteers? Maybe more? I mean, we always welcome from everywhere, but are there particular areas where we really need volunteers that you'd like to let the public know about?
There are, Diane. We do serve 9 counties from our region. We have none, no volunteers in Champaign County. We have none in Clark County. We have 1 in Darke County. We have none we have 1 in Miami County. I just finished training her. We have 1 in Preble County, and we have none in Shelby County. So all of those ones with none, we could really use some help there.
Thank you. Do volunteers, are they able to choose the facility with which they are paired, or facilities? I know that we try to pair them with more than one, but are they able to select those themselves?
For the most part, they are. We do ask, though, that since we have so many facilities and so few volunteers, that they not choose one where there is currently a volunteer.
Yeah,
so if they happen to choose a facility that already has a volunteer, I do give them, I show them the list of all of the places and ask them to pick another one. So
Right.
there are so many to choose from, that's usually not a problem.
Okay, we have very little time left, so I'd like to offer to the viewers our telephone number so that people can call us to follow up with their interest or their questions. It's 937-223-4613. So we invite your calls, and I'd like to turn to Bev and see what concluding remarks you'd like to leave with the viewers tonight.
I guess my concluding remarks would be this is such a wonderful time. I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but it is a wonderful time to be able to reach out and touch people. And what better way to do that than making a difference every single time you reach out? There are things that we do that we enjoy doing, but we're not making a difference. The Ombudsman program actually makes a difference in people's lives every single day. So I would ask that people would call and want to be a part of this program. It is such a rewarding program. I absolutely love the Ombudsman program. I love this job. I love the coworkers and all of the Ombudsman associates that have joined. And we are like a family. I talk to the volunteers all of the time. And I would ask that they would call, Google us. If you don't remember that phone number, Google Dayton Ombudsman Program. Give us a call, send us an email, join the program that makes a difference in lives.
Well, thanks to you both for coming on tonight and talking about the importance of our volunteer program and what a major difference volunteers can make in people's lives. We appreciate that, and we thank the audience for their good questions and for tuning in with us tonight. And we do hope to hear from you. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.